I don't take days off, do I? When my number is called, I don't take plays off, do I? I'ma always give you 20 and 10, no matter how much you wanna pretend that I ain't clutch with it. I don't do the load management, maybe I can handle it. When the heat is on, I can manage it. I'm kinda like James Harden's career, I can walk whenever I feel. And that's facts. It's like
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Others Receiving Votes podcast, sponsored by M-Glow. I'm your host, Loren Woods, a.k.a. Big Low. And today, I was thinking about simplicity. And I get on this because I just remember in my career, there was nothing flashy about the way I played. And I got to play 17 years professionally. I was very fortunate before that, University of Arizona, so many years spent in college, and then before that, high school, 4 years, and before high school, like another 5 or 6 years just playing, like youth basketball and stuff like that. But I've always been kind of like a simple player and having the simplicity. I remember my high school coach all the time, would say, KISS, keep it simple. That's just kind of the way I was taught. And I think a lot of the time that I played, I always kept that in mind. So, I was never really out of control, like within my game, as opposed to what I see now, a lot of things that are happening, a lot of things that's going on, especially in the basketball world, that it's just so much information that kids are being bombarded with. And I'm talking about on all levels, youth players, high school players, college players. It's just so much. Like, everybody feels like they have to do so much, and granted, I mean, there's players out there that can do a ton. One of my favorite players right now in the NBA, Jason Tatum, actually from St. Louis, my hometown, and Giannis Antetokounmpo and Joel Embiid and Kevin Durant and Kawhi Leonard, all these guys, LeBron, all these guys are huge players. They're like 6'8", 6'9", Giannis and Durant are 7 feet tall, my height. But they're just so gifted physically and skill-wise. And everybody feels like that's what they have to be. I have to be able to do everything. And that's just not really what it is. I mean, just focus on a couple of things, keep it as simple, and that's one of the things that can get you noticed. And we've talked about, and you can get noticed on, I'm talking about any level. If you're in high school, you keep it simple, you just, perfect one or two things. Your high school coach is going to see it and hopefully be able to say, oh, we can utilize those skills in this offense or defense. Or in college, it's the same thing, just on a higher level. You got to be more skilled in those specific things. And then when you get to the pro level, it's, you have to be pretty much the best, one of the best in those skills or attributes to get paid to play, obviously. And what I think now is happening is just everybody's just being bombarded with so much information and nobody knows what to filter out. And I'm just here to tell you, whatever you do pretty well right now, and I'm not saying don't, try to focus on many different areas, but whatever you do really well, gravitate towards that and make that the best. If you're a great defender, you can't really shoot, you can't really, dribble or pass or whatever, but you're a great defender, double down on being a great defender. If you're a great shooter, you don't have to average 20 assists, just shoot the ball. If you're a bigger guy and, like I said, with the exception of, some of the players I named earlier, 6'8", 6'9", be a great rebounder. Or I guess nowadays, everybody kind of has to be able to shoot a little bit. So just pick two things. Shooting is one of them for sure. And then after that, pick something else. And usually if you're taller, pick being a great rebounder. I mean, everybody likes if you can shoot and rebound, I mean, you're going to play. You're for sure going to get paid to play. If not, you'll definitely be on a college team for sure. But either way it goes, just keep it simple. Keep it simple. Well, if you add the second S, because my coach used to say, keep it simple, stupid all the time. But I choose to not say that to kids now. You can get a lawsuit for that now. So definitely don't call kids stupid. Now, you could 25, 30 years ago, but not now. Just KIS, keep it simple. But let's get to the show. All right, our next guest on the show, man, is, a guy, again, that's played all over the world. got paid to play basketball, at some of the highest levels. Got an NCAA national championship for my alma mater, University of Arizona. Another guy, I'm very, very fortunate to be able to follow in the footsteps and be a part of that great tradition and that great program at Arizona. But enough about me talking. Let's let Bennett get into his own story. Bennett Davison, what's going on, man?
Loren, thank you for having me on your show. Appreciate it. I'm down here in Dallas, Texas, and just inside getting some air conditioning. I've been outside doing a little bit of basketball with some kids.
Oh man, hey, listen, forget about that. Like, one thing is, I don't ever usually get salty when I give intros, man. But like I said, I had Joseph Blair on the show before, and I can say, yeah, he's a great player, blah blah blah. But when I say you, I always got to stress, 1997 NCAA national champions, and I myself got the runner up. But it's just not the same winning that national championship, man. But I love it. I'm still a little salty, but I love that you guys did it.
Yep, that's what a lot of people, when we go back down for Lute Olson fantasy camps and stuff, people say, hey, what were you guys thinking? It's like, hey, it's who can put the 6 luckiest games together. I mean, you lose one game, you're out. And I think, like I was just saying before our interview or podcast, I was saying that, all of our games except for that last 8 minutes in the overtime in the championship game, we won by a total of like 8 to 9 points. So we won a game by 1 or 2 points. So it's one of those things, is how the ball bounces. Yeah,
man. But you look at that team that you were on, and I love talking about this because I get into arguments with people all the time, and they say kind of the same thing. Oh man, that '97 team, they were lucky. They beat 3 number 1 seeds. Who could do that? That can never happen. I said, well, listen, look at their roster.
Yep.
They had Miles Simon, Mike Bibby, Jason Terry, AJ Bramlett, Eugene Edgerson,
Donnell Harris,
Michael Dickerson. I'm talking about, like, you got 7 or 8 guys that played professionally for a long time. And if you look at all the teams that you played, all those number 1 teams, who was it? North Carolina, Kentucky. Who was the other number 1 seed?
Kansas. Paul Pierce, Vince Carter, Antoine Jameson.
Same kind of talent.
Derek Anderson.
You guys matched up with talent-wise with all those guys. You know what I mean? So I always say,
absolutely.
Listen, that team, okay, yeah, they had a lower ranking, but that was the NCAA's fault for doing that to y'all.
Yep, we did finish off the Pac-10 that season, losing like 3 out of the last 5 games. And so it was one of those things where they kind of, I think it was one of those anomalies where we were placed as number 4. We were down in Alabama, and just, I mean, the third game that we played was against Kansas with Paul Pierce and Rafe LaFrance and Jacques Vaughn and all these top level. Paul Pierce, look at his career. He's out now. He's a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, man. Still, I love you guys' roster, and being able to be a part of that tradition, like I said, was just something amazing. But you know what? Enough about me. Tell us about your basketball journey from the beginning all the way throughout your professional career.
Will do. And I'll kind of just skip over the younger part. It actually started out as a soccer journey. And one of the cool things is my mom was very much into if you put it out in the world, and every action that you do, things can come true. So we actually went up to San Francisco to Pier 39, and we got a wish candle. It's kind of like a jawbreaker. It was like a red, white, or red, orange, yellow, green, blue kind of candle. We lit it, and she says, "What do you want to do? What do you want to be when you grow up?" My sister, at the age of 3 or 4, is like, "I want to be a princess or a ballerina." I said, "I want to be a professional soccer player." So one of the things she always instilled in me is like, hey, every action that you take, every time you go to a class, every time you go to a place, you act a certain way, and to achieve that, you have to do certain things. And so I felt from the age of 5 or 6, I knew what goal I wanted to be able to do, but that transition of being a soccer player into a basketball player, it all had to be the same things of finishing up, going to school, and getting the good enough grades and showing up to practice and going 100% every single day. So it really it went from Olympic tryout soccer teams into, I had amazing coaches when I was playing soccer, but I'd had average coaches in the small town where I was from, Sebastopol. Sebastopol is a town of 6,000 hippies, an hour north of San Francisco. All the women have hairy legs and armpits. All the cars are Priuses, and no joke, it's still that way. You can smoke the clothes because they're all made of hemp right now. They're all made of all the cars are Volkswagens and Priuses and stuff like that. But it's a great little small town that hasn't changed in the last 40 years. It's still 6,000 people. So one of the things that my dad always said was, we got to get you out of this area. Nobody knows who you are. So I would go no joke, the end of my junior year in high school, my mom and dad, we got in the car and we went and knocked on the doors of Santa Clara, St. Mary's, Cal, Stanford, Sac State, University of San Francisco, and said, hey, my son's a good basketball player. Do you guys have a scholarship? All the coaches were like, what do you want and what are you doing here? And that's not how this whole thing works. We'll recruit you and we'll follow you. Okay, well, what do we do? He's like, oh, well, you're underdeveloped. Why don't you go to a junior college? Like, what's a junior college and how does that affect my schooling? And so it's the whole, do we red shirt, do you gray shirt, and go down there. And it was nice because it was in San Jose, California. So I was an hour north of San Francisco. And the junior college was an hour south of San Francisco. So it was about 2 hours, hour 50, 2 hours south. And I remember the first few weeks going out there, coming from a small town high school into a big city like San Jose against sophomores who were putting up 245 on the bench, and I'm barely putting up 135, 235s on the side of the bench press, and I was getting my butt handed to me. Loren, when I say I was getting pushed around, I was getting bullied every single day. And so one day I go into the coach and I'm kind of sad on the sidelines, and my coach says, hey, what's going on? I said, I feel like I can't compete. These guys are better than I am. They're tougher than I am. So he's like, come with me. So we go into the office, calls my dad on the landline and says, hey, Al, I think your son wants a red shirt. He doesn't think he can compete. He's not strong enough. And my next sentence was my dad says, I don't give a shit. Get that dude back out there. I didn't send him down there to red shirt. And Coach Burton says, thanks, Al. That's all I needed to know. He hangs up the phone. He says, Coach says, hey, Bennett, get back in the gym. I'll see you in 5 minutes. And it was exactly what I needed. And so with my parents and the coaches and the people that my family surrounded me with was, if you commit to something, follow through with it, and also be proactive in everything that you do. And a lot of what I'm doing now is trying to be able to teach college players or semi-pro or FIBA international basketball players is how to be proactive in your own life. Don't rely on an agent. Don't, as a professional athlete or a college athlete, you're 1 out of 10,000 people looking for one position on a basketball team of something that you want. So if it's something you want, you've got to go out there and be proactive with it. So as I was at the West Valley Junior College in San Jose, it went from me knocking on doors for every Division I college in the area to going to junior college. And within 4 months, I was the number 1 JC player in the nation.
Wow.
And it was one of those things. It's like nobody knew where I was. I had Coach Burton at West Valley he was a Bobby Knight. He was, there's a wall, you run through it. Why do I need to run through it? Just because I told you to? Okay, Coach, I trust you. I mean, I feared this guy more than anything. He was and he'll tell you himself, he was short, bald, wore glasses and buck tooth, and he's like, but this guy knew more about basketball than most coaches that I've ever been coached under. So in doing so, ended up coming back my sophomore year, and my coach says, we're in the preseason meeting my sophomore year, and he says, Bennett, where do you want to go? I was like, I don't even know. He's like, all right, well, let's focus on geographically. So he hands a couple letters out to the other teammates. He's like, okay, Jacoby Thompson, here's Santa Clara, here's San Jose State, here's other teammates, here's some other offers. And he hands this like letter box, like this Xerox, we have reams of paper. He hands a box to me and he puts it on my desk. He's like, what's this? He's like, this is every university in the nation wanting to recruit you. I looked it up. It was Duke, North Carolina.
And that was
Texas.
just a year later.
That was the beginning of my sophomore year.
Wow.
I just come back from a Las Vegas junior college exposure camp, and Lute Olson was there, and Dean Smith, and John Thomas, and Bill Frieder, and all the Division I, every top-level Division I school was there. And I'm opening these letters, and it's like Oregon and USC and Cal, Stanford, Duke, North Carolina, Temple, St. John's. Everyone's like, these are for me? He's like, yep. He's like, I just wanted to keep you away from all the chaos because it can become very convoluted and chaotic because all day long your phone, what the process is. Everybody's calling in. You're like, you get tired of talking to people like, hey, how's it going? Come to here, blah, blah, blah. So that sophomore year, I think I had I think those 2 years in junior college, in the regular season, we were undefeated and maybe we lost 1 game, but in the 60 to 70 games, we only lost 5 games in 2 seasons. So if we beat a team by 20 points, it was close. I mean, I'm looking through some old tapes at halftime. It was like 47 to 17 against these junior college teams. So he says, hey, let's go. Where do you want to go? I said, I want to stay in the West Coast. I want my parents to come and watch games. And it really came down to University of Oregon, the Ducks, and the University of Arizona. And as soon as I came down to Arizona, it was Miles Simon, Michael Dickerson. They took me out to, a fraternity, and a fight breaks out. And all I remember is this dude takes a Coors Light, throws it as hard as he can, skips off the table, hits me right in the thigh, gives me a Charlie horse. That night we go to downtown Tucson, south of 6th Street at the club, and all of a sudden everyone's walking out, shots start firing. So I come back and tell Coach Jesse Evans, and he's like, oh my gosh, are you okay? I hope this doesn't deter you from coming from Arizona. He's like, heck no, this is exactly where I'm coming. I'm not even going to go to Oregon on a recruiting trip, so I chose Arizona. I was like, this is where I want to be at. So, I mean, the guys are great. The campus is insane. Coach Olson, it was like, hey, we don't want you here. We need you here. And it was one of those situations where Joseph Blair, Reggie Gary, Stoudemire, I think, had left the year before. You had Corey Williams. You had all these top-level players that you sit there and watch, and they're like, they're going to not have any seniors. You're a junior college transfer. You're going to start every game if you can produce. And we came in, and I had 2 great years. It was frustrating in Arizona for me because coming from a junior college where I was a key player, coming to Arizona, I was a role player. But I feel that it just like in any championship where they have Kobe and Shaq, you've got to have your Devin Georges, you got to have your Rick Foxes that come out and do the dirty work. And also, you're not going to go out there and score 40 points or that type of stuff. So Arizona was a great journey. I followed in Joseph Blair's footsteps. You and Richard Jefferson and Luke Walton all followed in our footsteps in '97. And that's what it's about. Arizona has a great brotherhood of, you may not have played with each other on the same courts, but when everybody comes back to Tucson, it's just nothing but love and what have you been up to and catching up. And just like we're talking right now, we've never played on the same floor together, but we're talking like we've, played 2 or 3 seasons together.
Yeah, man. I mean, that for one, the story is incredible. From not being known, your senior year of high school, knocking on people's doors. And the funny thing is, I love it because it's like your dad, he doesn't know the process or whatever. And I kind of grew up in the process because I played in high school with All-Americans that were older. Yep. So I kind of knew how it was going to be. But if you didn't come from that type of culture, you just don't know. And it would be as easy as, oh, okay, yeah. So, guys can go to college for free and play basketball and, use that skill to get an education. Okay, let's just go to the colleges and tell the coaches that you're a basketball player.
I want to come here.
Yeah, I want to come here.
Like, hold on, that's not how this whole works.
Right?
How does it work? I have a question. I don't know the answer. Tell me the answer.
Yeah, man. And I love it. And the funny thing, we need to get back to that simplicity, I think, with a lot of things. I think a lot of things, get overthought about now and overanalyzed and everything. And it's as opposed to just doing the simple thing. Oh, okay. I want to know. I don't know how this works. I want to know how this works. Let me just go to where it's happening and find out how it works.
Exactly.
That's simple. That's awesome, man.
It's pretty simple, right?
It's very simple. It's very simple. So you got being unheard of senior year of college, go to junior college, almost ready to red shirt and, I don't want to say give up, but just kind of like, I'm overpowered here.
I need
I'm
another
overmatched.
year to mature.
Yeah, I need another year to basically your dad and your coach being like, I'll get the hell out of here. Get your butt back on the court.
No out.
Yeah, get your butt back on the court.
Door.
We got about 20 more suicides, and then you can go to study hall or whatever. To 2 years later, being at the University of Arizona, winning a national championship at the University of Arizona, and then going on to play pro overseas. So talk about a little bit about that.
Let me give one more story back at the University of Arizona.
Oh, please do. Please do.
Yeah. So Coach Burton. Like I said, he is the reason why I was at Arizona. I mean, everything that I owe to him, like I said, I had good coaches, but I didn't have great coaches and I never started lifting weights until a freshman in junior college. And that sophomore year, ended up transferring down to Arizona. He's like, great choice. And Coach Olson and Bob Burton still, obviously Coach Olson is a little on the, had a couple strokes and stuff. So a few years back, he was sitting there telling me, he's like, oh, yeah, we talked to Coach Burton, but Coach Burton was at the Final Four and the championship game against Kentucky back in '97. And Coach Burton, he's been in thousands and hundreds of games. And the funny thing is, as we won the championship, my dad was saying that Coach Burton left the gym. He said it was the last 3 to 5 minutes of the game, and he just walked out of the stadium. He's like, I can't watch this. He's like, what do you mean? He's like, this is one of my players who I have, came knocking on my door asking if I could play for him. 2 years later, he's on the national stage in the Division I NCAA in Indianapolis in the RCA Dome with 52,000 people watching it inside of a football stadium. I'm in the front row sitting with his parents. And he, as a basketball coach who's known more, about basketball, he's so nervous at the situation, he had to walk outside of the stadium. And so he walks back in, and as we're cutting down the net, I cut my piece of net in half, and I said, Coach, I wouldn't be here without you. So I actually handed him a piece of the championship net. So it was kind of like one of those emotional things like, hey, I made it, Coach, thank you, and then here's a little gratitude for you. So that was kind of a cool little story that I wanted to share about college before I transitioned into the pros.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, you got to tug on everybody's emotional strings a little bit.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
So,
just one tear is all I want.
Oh, for sure. That's it. You for sure got it. You got more than one for sure. So you do that. You cut the net down. You give a piece of the net to your coach. Hugs and dap hugs all around. Parents, everybody there. Looking back on it like, whoa, how did we even get here? And then now the next journey which is one, something that happened to me also. And I think it probably is a little bit surreal for anyone who goes from, playing basketball for however many years for free to actually getting that first check or, signing that first contract or whatever. It's like, what? I can't even believe that this is happening. Like, is this really happening?
Yeah.
So, talk a little bit about that.
Like you ask any professional.
For sure.
You ask any professional player, would you go back and play one more year in college for free? And every pro would be like, heck yes, without a doubt. You go back and, and it's always one of those things like you'll never get those 4 years back because you're playing at the highest level for the most pure reasons. We can get on another topic about education and the cost of it. And is it really worth, should they get some money back? But that's another conversation. But then, you get in, since I was on the national championship team, we won the Pac-10 the next year. I think we're the only teams to actually be close. We had lost it in an a last-second shot, and we would have been undefeated throughout the whole Pac-10 that 98 season. But then you go to a couple NBA combines, Chicago, and for me, I'm an undersized 4 and an underskilled 3. I didn't really have the ball handling and I didn't have the shooting, but I had the athleticism and the keep up, but I also didn't have the size and the strength to be a 4 in the NBA. I mean, you got Antetokounmpo, he's 7'1" with an 8-foot wingspan, and he's a point guard right now. So for me, I was designed perfectly for European basketball, FIBA, Federation of International Basketball Association. And it was one of those things, you go to the combines, you work out, and then I was sent as the NBA draft was going on, and I think it was a lockout year. I ended up going over to Treviso, Italy, and going over for an exposure camp, basically an NBA summer league for FIBA, so FIBA summer league. And in doing so, signed a contract with a Turkish team, Galatasaray, in Istanbul, Turkey. And then it was off to the races. And then I played 12 more years, and a list of countries was, in those first few years of playing professional, you're always going to be invited to an NBA Summer League, depending on your skill level. So the first year I was with the Grizzlies NBA Summer League, didn't get picked up. Then I was with the Warriors, then it was the Lakers for 2 years, and then it was the Nuggets. And then I was like, you know what? I started making over $200,000, $300,000, and I was like, you know what? I'm just going to enjoy my summers now. In doing so, my first year, Istanbul, Turkey, it was a culture shock. I mean, one of the things you wanted to find out is, a lot of these NCAA men and women's basketball players, you're so well taken care of, and you have everything from pregame meals to transportation to gyms and shoes and everything. You're basically in living situation, a roof over your head.
Sure.
That once you're over in Europe, you get a taste of what it's really like. And a lot of it is you've got to be okay with being alone and stuck with your own thoughts. Yeah, I mean, you're going to go over to Europe and you're in Istanbul, Turkey. You're not going to speak their language. The first morning I was there, you had those spires of, the Muslim chants. And all of a sudden at 9 in the morning, you hear, they have this loud yelling 5
mosque
times
going
a day.
off.
Yeah, the mosque, they're sitting there over blaring this music. And all of a sudden you're like, what the heck is that? It's like your own alarm clock, and you can't even understand what they're saying. one thing is like, and when you get off that plane, the smell of the place is different. The culture, the streets, the clothes, the food. I mean, one of the weirdest things is you get off, I lived in Onbir Jixum in Ataköy is a little suburb of Istanbul. But when we drive to practice, right where you get on the on-ramp onto the freeway, there's prostitutes waiting right there to be picked up and be prostituted. So that was something that you don't see very much in the United States either. You see large packs of dogs running around, and they're just stray dogs running around. Cats are pretty much stray everywhere. It was just kind of like one of those culture shocks. Like, okay, I got practice from 9 to 11, come home, eat, sleep, go back to practice from 6 to 8, and then you kind of have a lot of time. And, the internet was just kind of starting overseas also. That was in 99, 2000. Ooh. So you got to have PlayStation. You got to go over there and get a computer, and you got to get all the, the plugs and all that type of stuff. So that cultural shock. But then the second year, I ended up going down to Melbourne, Australia. I lived the block from the beach. It was great. We had practices Tuesday, Thursday, and games Saturday. So we go golfing Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and relax a little bit. The culture down there was great. It was summertime down there, and I'd have summertime down there, and I'd come back to Tucson, finish up some school, and it was summertime in Tucson. So I got like 2 years of straight summer. So that was kind of cool.
Man.
And then I started wanting to go ahead.
No, I was like, I was thinking thinking about that schedule. You saying y'all had practice on Tuesdays and Thursdays and just a game on Saturday, and that was it?
Yep. And that was it. So we can come in Monday, Wednesday, Friday, get some shots up, but it was like organized full-on practices. We had older players. I had Andrew Gaze. This dude was probably one of the most prolific shooters I've ever seen. I'm telling you, when we would do 5 spots, make 10, this dude would be upset because he had made 48 or 49 out of 50. I mean, he was a shooting machine. It was insane. He was, I think he averaged 41 points his first few years, and I think 35 points per game for the rest of his career. He was an amazing scorer. So his thing was like, they were at the end of their career, so they were like, hey, let's just save the energy for the games, and they had, put up enough time and stuff like that. So then the second year, I was like, I was kind of debating with my coach was like, do I make 150 over 125, 150 over in Australia and live a good life, but you're only playing in an Australian league? Or do I go over to Europe and start trying to make it up and build myself up into the EuroLeague and play more competitive basketball with a larger salary? So I decided to go back over to Europe, and I went to Slovenia, and we played 2 years in the EuroLeague and the Super Cup. But they wear you out. Yugoslavians and the Italians, they got 2 practices a day every single day, and your body's just sore all the time. And you're like, do you want me to play hard in practice, or do you want me to play hard in the games? So they wear you down over there. I did 2 years in Slovenia, then I did 2 years in Naples, Italy, and then I did Bologna, and then I zipped over to Croatia and for Zagreb, Cibona, and then I went back to Bologna, back to Virtus, and then I transferred to Milan, and I actually got to play with Joseph Blair for about 2 or 3 months up in Milan. He had a 3-year contract up in Milan.
Oh yeah, shout out to JB. That was one of the first times I actually got to play with JB. JB's a great dude. I mean, master networker, generous, informational, hilarious, outgoing, charming. He's got everything going for him. And then Milan, and I think that was probably 8 seasons. And then I went over to Greece, popped in and out of Venezuela, Mexico, and stuff like that, and then finished off my last year in Gold Coast, Australia. So once 2010, 2011 hit, I was like, I've got 12 years. You start pulling injuries, your lower back hurts too much, you're icing all the time, and you're like, you know what? The game has decided to leave me, or I need to decide to leave the game, and I made that final decision 2010 and 11, and started getting into residential solar, and had to get a real job, and it sucks. Because I enjoyed playing basketball and getting paid, Yeah, it's the best job to have for sure. And I know that feeling, man, being old and, stretching on your off days and, icing for, twice a day, wake up in the morning, ice, and wake up wake up from that nap and ice before practice, then directly after practice, icing and stretching, man, it's crazy. Yep. But I do understand that decision to not play in Europe, man, because I remember I was playing in Europe when I first left the NBA. So I'm playing in Europe, and the same thing, 2 practices a day, maybe 1 off day a week, and that off day to them might be just like getting some free throws up, like coming in the gym, shooting some spot shots, and then leaving. Like, man, there ain't no off day. I don't want to see y'all. That's an off day. You know what I mean?
There's no off days.
Yeah, it's crazy. And then when I played in the Middle East, I went to the Middle East. Played in Lebanon. Played in Bahrain. Played in that area where it's just 1 practice a day.
Yep.
Hour and a half, 2 hours, because there's like save it for the game. And I remember having the opportunity to go back and play in Europe. Like, man, when you come back and play in Europe, even if it's for a little bit more money, I was like, not even close.
Yeah.
It's not happening
anymore. Yeah, they wear you out. I mean, there's like, I got them in the gym. I got to get them in the gym for 4 hours. And there's like, how about we just relax, let my body heal a little bit and get a little recovery in, just so I have a little extra bounce in my step and I'm not sore. And no, believe me, you must practice every day. I was like, well, it's because you're getting me in the gym to get these 18 and 20-year-olds, up to par, and your how do you say, your countrymen, the quality of basketball. But he's like, but they're not even playing in the games. So they're just out here, practicing all this stuff. And it's just kind of a frustrating thing because you don't need to practice for 4 hours every day for 9 months straight.
No, you do not. Only a true veteran would know that.
I'd probably still be. I just pulled off a windmill and I'm 44 years old.
Man, I
pulled off a windmill just last Friday. But then the next day, guess what? You're all sore.
Oh, yeah.
Your back is you got to take 2 Advil before and after the game. But you can't play the game forever.
I was demonstrating something to a kid about 2-3 weeks ago, and I think I hurt my Achilles a little bit. I was like, man, I didn't even do nothing fast. It was like 50-60%. Like, yeah, you got to do that. Ow.
Yep, you wake up sore. Like, I didn't even do anything. Why am I sore? What happened here?
Exactly. One other thing I wanted to talk about, because you had so many years playing overseas, I know you faced some difficulties over there. I mean, it's a lot. It's a literally a long laundry list of things that could possibly happen. But everybody's experiences are different. So, for you, what were some of your most difficult challenges, and how did you overcome or face those challenges?
I remember one of the biggest things that my dad said. He's like, you played 6 years. Maybe it's time that you get a real job and that type of stuff. And I was like, you know what? I want to continue to play basketball. And I actually played another 6 years, and I was blessed to get 6 years. You hear so many people of, it really only takes, just like Kevin Durant, it took one little baby step, a little side step to tear his Achilles. And that could sit you out for 2 years. But if you're sitting out for 2 years in Europe, you don't have that contract guarantee. There's very few FIBA international basketball players that can retire and never have to work again. You've got to be able to, as any kind of basketball player, everyone has a dream of making the NBA, and my dream was becoming a professional athlete. But, I always say that the NBA players are that 90 to 100 percentile of quality basketball players. LeBron James, Durant, Steph Curry, they're at that 100 percentile. I felt like I was always a 87 to 90. I was one of the top European players playing on the top teams, but I was always in that 80 to 90 percentile. And then I called it 24-hour fitness ballers. The guys at 24 hours like, yo, I'm nice. I don't know why I can't play overseas, but it takes you've got to pack up and leave everything that you've been familiar with over the last, your whole life. And all of a sudden you're sitting in an apartment by yourself, staring at the walls in a country where you don't even know where to get. You go to the grocery store and it's like they could be handing you donkey when you're asking for beef. So I think just being okay with isolation, living in a different country, getting away from things that you're not familiar with is probably one of the biggest things. The second thing is, as a professional FIBA international basketball player, is contracts are not really respected. One thing that I have with Euro Hoop Life is a video archive of interviews, of short little podcasts like you're doing, but they're about 8 to 10 minute little podcasts, interviewing these players on their experiences overseas. So it's very much like an Angie's List for international basketball players.
Oh, I love it. I love that.
Loren Woods is about to go sign with a team that I played for 3 years ago. And it's like in Australia, and I was like, Loren, I would sign a contract with this team hands down. But say in next season, you played for a team that I played for in Istanbul, Turkey, they still owe me $60,000. You want to know, what am I getting myself into if I'm going to sign with Galatasaray in Istanbul, Turkey. Well, if you didn't know anything about Turkey, this one team in the last 5 years has 53 arbitrations against them. So why would you want to go sign a contract with a team that you're probably not even going to get 30 or 40% of your money? So it's a Euro Hoop Life. It's a YouTube channel, and I've got about 80 different reviews with players from Iraq to Australia, Venezuela, China, Slovenia, Israel, everywhere. So those are some of the pitfalls as a FIBA international basketball player.
Yeah, I'm glad that you brought a lot of that up because a lot of it, most of it, when guys go overseas to play, the most important thing to most guys is the money. Am I going to get my money? Am I going to get my money on time? When you're younger, you don't even know that's not a thing because people that work at McDonald's and Target get paid like clockwork on the 1st and the 15th. And you're thinking like, oh, I'm going overseas.
Yep. Our golden egg is our basketball.
Right? You're like, oh, I'm gonna sign a contract for $100,000 or for $200,000 or for $50,000. I'm for sure gonna get my money because I'm a basketball player. That is not how it works overseas, my guy.
It is not. I'll go into details about that. It's there are countries like France, Chile, and that's where I go over all this stuff with these different interviews because each interview, every country is structured slightly different. I'd say 95% of it is all the same. But if you go to France, in this team, like you'll never have an issue if you ever play basketball in France, because if the team disbands or the sponsors don't pay or whatever, the government will pay your salary, and then they will go after that salary that they missed. The government will go after that team on your behalf. But if you go to Turkey, they say, "Hey, meet us at the gym." You're going to be sitting there, and they're going to hand over stacks of cash in American dollars, and they're like, "All right, good luck." And then you got to transfer it, or you got to. No joke. I came back from overseas, and I had a couple $1,000 in my socks, in my ankles, and I came across and I flew it home. But anything over 10,000, you had to be able to report. But things are different. I mean, Istanbul and Crete, Greece, things can become very shady. You don't get paid on time. You're supposed to get paid on the first, and like, oh, but just show up to practice. We will have the guy who is supposed to be at the bank. He is out of town, and then just wait. We'll have it for you in 2 weeks. 2 weeks on Wednesday. It's a national holiday. We don't have the money right now for you. The banks aren't open. Well, okay, what about tomorrow? Tomorrow we have his wife is having their baby, and they can't go. It's like there's more excuses than you can think of, and so. Southern Italy is very much like that. Team in Scafani, they still owe me about $30,000 to $35,000. So anytime there's and to kind of go a little bit more into detail, FIBA doesn't have an international basketball players union. Nothing that you can do except for file an arbitration, which costs between $3,000 and $14,000 based on the dollar amount. Are you allowed to go after those teams? So if I'm owed $120,000 over 5 different teams, I've got to come out of pocket $30,000 to $40,000 to get money that I might get in 9 to 10 years.
Which is crazy, man. I mean, like, I laughed when you were talking because I swear I've heard all of those excuses that you said at least 10 times.
Oh, yeah. Everybody has.
From different people. I mean, it's always like, oh, yeah, we got your check, but we're waiting for the president to sign your check. Okay, cool. Where's he at? Call him up. Like, get him down here, sign the check. Oh, no, he's out of town.
Yep.
What you mean he out of town? It's the first.
He's on vacation. Yeah, he's out of town. He was just at the game yesterday. What's he doing?
Where would he go out of town for? Where's he going? It ain't nowhere to go. It's November. Ain't no holidays here.
Yeah. So a funny story. I was in Scafati, which is the city right next to Pompeii, the ancient city of Pompeii. And it was the end of the season. And so in Naples, there's the team of Naples. There's Caserta. There's Pompeii, Scafati. There's a bunch of different teams. And so one of the players, I'll just use Nate is his name. Nate was playing for Caserta. And so before the game, we just played Nate 2 weeks before. He's like, dude, I'm so sick and tired of this fucking team. They ain't paid me nothing. He's like, I'm coming out here. I might have 2 points. I don't care. And so we go out, and we're finishing up our playoffs and stuff. And we all go out to the little hip-hop club on a Saturday night in Naples, Italy. And we're finishing up night. And we said, hey, Nate, have a good flight home, blah, blah, blah. He's like, F this team. I'm so happy to be home. And we were just kind of like, yeah, we wish we were on the same boat, because we hadn't been paid for 3 or 4 months also. But we wanted to make sure that we finished off the season so that our our contract opportunities, we could get a contract for the next season. So as we're driving home, we see this car, and in Naples they have these railroad tracks in the center of all the highways, or instead of all the boulevards, and it's either a taxi lane or a trolley lane. But what happens is at the end of the trolley lane is the road drops down, and then all you're left with is the tracks. Obviously, you can't drive on it. So Nate, we'd all been out drinking, and they're a little bit more lenient with the drinking and driving. And so hopefully this podcast is 21 and older. So kids, don't drink and drive.
Don't drink and drive. Exactly. I'm glad you said that, because I didn't want to have to edit that out. But no, yes, just don't drink and drive.
Disclaimer. And in doing so, we're driving back, and me and my other teammate were like, "What is that?" Nate's car was stuck up on the railroad tracks, and his tires were still spinning, and his car door was open. So he had basically packed his bags in the car. He drove the car on top of the railroad tracks, gets out of the car, gets his bags, hails down a taxi, and goes to the airport. And so 2 weeks later, I was like, "Nate, we saw your car." So we kind of, got on Skype and stuff once I got back home. He's like, "Yeah, man, this team owes me like $18,000. And he's like, "Guess what they just called? They just called me 2 days ago asking me where the car was." And so I was like, "Hey, what you telling me?" He's like, "Hey, I'll tell you where the car's at when you give me my $18,000. Like, so the team says, "Believe me, Bubba, believe me, we will give you the $18,000. Just tell us where the car is at." He's like, "I don't know where the car is at."
Nope.
I left that thing stranded in downtown Naples. So those are the kind of the things that you have to deal with.
Good God. Now I've heard some funny stories. I've never heard nothing like that. That is hilarious.
That one, a coach of mine down in Australia, he was playing in Greece, in the same similar situation. The team owed him money. He basically drove the car to the airport, left it on the curb, threw the keys in the bushes, and said, "Bye, I'm out." Grabbed his bags and stuff. And the team called him up a few days later and said, "Hey, where's my money? Where's my car?" He's like, "Where's my money?" He's like, "I don't know where the car is at until you send me my money."
Yeah,
so
man.
There's a lot of shady games that you have to be able to watch out for. That's why I created Euro Hoop Life. It's a YouTube channel. So you can, I just want to build a video archive of every single team. And if there's one team that has 10 different interviews, then great. More information. I think information should be readily available. So it all comes from an educational perspective. And I just wanted to be able to leave breadcrumbs for future basketball players saying, "Hey, don't mess with this team. You're not going to get all your money."
Yep.
Or this team is great. They treat their players with respect. Paydays on Sunday, you're going to get it Friday. You don't even have to look at your bank account because you know it's going to be in there. That's what I want to be able to bring for players and agents, because these teams are shady. If you don't finish in the top three, the sponsors stop paying their sponsorships, and the shit rolls downhill.
Oh, yeah.
And the players are the ones that are usually being screwed because the Fiba doesn't protect its players. It doesn't care about its players, and it protects the teams instead of its own players.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. It's crazy. But, I've checked out Euro Hoop Life. Anybody out there listening, definitely, if you want to get any information on a team or see what it's about, definitely check it out, because it's so much information and it's right there. There's no excuses anymore,
I'm looking also and people can reach out to me, say, "I got a great story. I got to share my story." This is a public forum. You're allowed to go out there and share your story. So I'm looking to be able to record.
Yeah, man.
If I need to do 3 or 4 players per day, I'll go out and record 3 or 4 players' individual stories, and you can post it and use it as you want. Free education for FIBA international basketball players and agents.
I love it, man. I love it. Listen, I know you got to go, man. I know you got to get these kids right in Dallas. Go. What's the last thing I want to know? The biggest piece of advice you would give any kid who's about to go overseas so they can become a little bit more successful.
If you are a certified international basketball player, obviously you're going to have an agent. You don't need an agent, but to be able to go out there, I'd say be proactive. When you're out there, I feel that you and I, and as the basketball players, we've had amazing coaches and incredible role models and male influences in us. Once you leave that college, you realize that you're going to have 50% of it is going to just fall off the map. They're not going to take care of you, but they're going to give you a car, an apartment. Just realize that it's a cutthroat industry. But realize that you're there to produce. And in college, you want to run that system as a professional. You need to go out there and really focus on your own points, assists, rebounds, and stats is really what matters. And it's just like, I don't know who said it, it's like nobody cares what you did the last game. They want to know what you're going to do for them this game. And just educate yourself on who you're signing with, whether it be an agent, whether it be a team. And at the same time, you should never put money out there. One time I showed up to the airport like, you have a ticket, but it's not paid for. So I called my agent like, hey, just pay for it and we'll reimburse you. I'm going to go home. I'm going to wait for you guys to pay for my ticket. And then when the ticket's paid for, I'll jump on the plane. You should never really have to come out of pocket. Know what contract. There's a lot of scams out there. Craigslist scams saying, hey, if we send us $1,500, we'll send you this contract. We'll fly you out. We just need to get all the passport stuff done. Don't come out of pocket through anything. The teams will pay your 10% of your agent fees. They should pay for your car, your apartment, your agent's fees, your taxes, all that type of stuff. So you can find more information on Euro Hoop Life, and it's just we do short 3-minute podcasts on how to find an agent, how to file an arbitration against a team, what pitfalls to look out for, those types of things.
Oh, yeah, man.
In Angie's List for FIBA.
Yes, sir. I love it, man. Hey, Bennett, tell us where to find you on social media.
Just Bennett Davison on YouTube. You can find me on LinkedIn. Just send me a quick little message saying, hey, I'd like to do an interview, or hey, do you have I got an offer for this team. Do you have another player? If not, I'll find a player. I can just go to Eurobasket, find the player. I'll do an interview on them, and then I'll get you in contact with the player that played for him a year ago or 2 years or 3 years ago. And just know what you're getting yourself into before you sign a contract.
Oh, yeah. And the information is out there. If you look hard enough, it's out there.
Yep.
And Bennett's doing an amazing thing with the Euro Hoop Life. I'm telling you, I checked it out. It's a great site. It's a YouTube channel. Subscribe to it, especially if you're a player or if you're a family member of a player and you want to know more information. It's a great resource to have. Hey, Bennett, I can't thank you enough for doing this podcast. It was great knowledge.
Yep.
Hilarious stories, by the way. Like I know you got about 100,000 more stories, and we got to get you back on again so you can tell like 10 more stories. I love it.
Awesome. Love what you're doing with the same thing, and right back at you, Loren. Thank you.
All right, man. Hey, take it easy, man. God bless. We'll talk soon.
Have a good one. Bye-bye.
Well, there you have it, man. I mean, again, to be able to hear some of Bennett's stories, it just shows you that it's some craziness that's going on, in the world. And I brought up the example about, about McDonald's and Target because I always think about that, or like, people that work at the gas station or wherever. And I'm not talking about, these aren't, jobs that I think should be looked down upon because, there's everybody do whatever you do at that moment the best you possibly can. I went to Target the other day and I eat McDonald's occasionally. Usually the day after I probably had a little bit too much wine, but that's neither here nor there. My point is that, in those jobs, when you're in the States, when you're in the United States, usually wherever you work, you're going to get paid like clockwork. Like you don't have to ask your boss, like, well, am I going to get paid? Or where's my check? Or, I didn't see the deposit. What's up? You don't have to ask that because it's just going to happen. That's just the way it is. But when you're overseas, it's not like that. I mean, I've been in a situation many times where it's, well, what's up? Where's the money at? And, next week. And then next week comes, okay, well, where's the money at? Well, the guy, it's always the guy. The guy is not here. Like, what guy? Was the guy at the game? I ain't never seen the guy. Was the guy on my contract that I signed? Because I ain't seen nobody's name that said the guy is going to pay me. You know what I mean? So it's all those things that happen. But one of the best, one of the things that Bennett said that I loved was it was in the beginning. And if everybody can just follow this, because Bennett's a great guy, he's got a ton of knowledge, been all over the world, back home, he helps kids out, doing all this, all these great things, with the Euro Hoop Life website and all those, YouTube channel, podcasts, all those, is when he first started playing basketball. His dad took him around because he's about 6'6", 6'7". His dad, they were from a small town. They didn't know anything about recruiting or anything like that. All they did was, they took him around because he was 6'7" and said, hey, I got a son, he's 6'7", and I hear that you give scholarships to guys who play basketball. He plays basketball. What's up? That's the best pitch ever. I love it. I'm going to try that. I swear I'm going to try that. But what they did was, when he was younger, he learned commit, follow through, be proactive. And that's all of those things. I mean, he committed to basketball. His parents were like, look, you got to do what you got to do. Whatever it takes, you got to get it done and be proactive. And even when, he decided, he was thinking that maybe he should redshirt and he was being outmatched and guys were better than him his first year at junior college, and he called his dad, and trust me, I know a lot of parents that were like, all right, well, just come on home, like maybe that's just not for you. And his dad was like, well, I don't care what he feels. I don't care about his feelings. we got his butt out the house so we can go play basketball and get a scholarship. You better go tell him to get back on the court. And the coach was like, you heard your dad, get your ass back out there. And what did that produce? That the year before that, or a few months before that, he was a senior in high school. Nobody ever heard of him. No scholarship offers, nothing. Got a chance to go to junior college because the coach saw something in him. A year later, he was the number 1 junior college player on the West Coast. A year after that, deciding between the University of Oregon and the University of Arizona, 2 of the top schools on the West Coast. Now, mind you, 2 years before that, nobody heard of him. But just because he committed, he followed through, he was proactive, he worked on his game, all the important things that are required for you to become successful, in a matter of 24 months, he went from being not heard of to signing, a letter of intent to go to the University of Arizona. And then the next year won a national championship. Still a little bit salty by that, by the way. Not jealous. Not jealous, not envious. Those are my guys, like everybody that was on that team. Great guys. I know them all, and I'm happy for them. I'm proud. I'm just mad I didn't get my national championship. That's all. Also, another thing Bennett said, be aware of everything. Like I said, the resources are out there. So, when you're in college, you get babied, especially in the States. You get babied. Everything gets done for you. I know it. I don't care what college I don't know all the colleges, but, for sure, NCAA Division I, high-level Division I, mid-major, even lower level, you're pretty much taken care of. As soon as you get on that, like on the pro track, 50% of that goes away. You might have an agent that can get you a deal, but then as soon as you go overseas, it's like, you might not talk, you're not going to talk to your agent every day. Not like in college and high school where you see your coaches every day and talk to them and they're always checking up. That's not how it works in the pros. So, be aware of everything. Be aware of your surroundings. When you go to places, know about the place before you get there. Do a little bit of research on it. What's this team like? Well, what's the coach like? What's this city like that I'm going to? Do I know anybody that's played there? Do I know anybody that's overseas? Let me get in contact with them. Bennett's got a whole podcast on it. Scroll through the podcast, see if it, if anything is familiar. If not, reach out to a guy like Bennett. Send him an email or send him a message on the site. Hey, listen, I'm going to this place. I looked through your site. I didn't see any examples of this on your site. Do you know anything? Be proactive. Well, again, if you know anyone who could benefit from the podcast, please share it. Definitely reach out to me. You got any questions, comments, anything you want to know about, you can hit me up on my personal IG or Twitter. That's Mr. Loren Woods, MRLORENWOODS, or MGLOWUS_US. That's on the business Twitter. And Instagram, IMGLLO_US. Any comments, questions, or topics you want to know about, man, and we'll get to it. I'm gonna try to put together as much info as I possibly can. So, you have all of it there. We want all the resources available. Like Bennett said, we want it readily available for you to be as successful as possible. With that said, y'all stay fortunate and be blessed.
I don't take days off, do I? When my number is called, I don't take plays off, do I? I'ma always give you 20 and 10, no matter how much you wanna pretend that I ain't clutch with it. I don't do the load management, maybe I can handle it. When the heat is on, I can manage it. I'm kinda like James Harden's career, I can walk whenever I feel, and that's facts. It's like the clock's ticking down on